Very large tropical storm Wipha moving through the Philippines and strengthening on today's Tropical Weather Bulletin. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for July 18th. Well, around the world, the tropics are looking like they're going to enter another active spell by the looks of things, but the main threat right now is a very enormous tropical storm, monsoonal in part, Tropical Storm Wipha moving through the northern Philippine Islands right now, just north of Luzon, moving through the Babuyan group of islands actually at this time, but it's very large, so it doesn't really matter exactly where the centre is, but we'll get onto that in a moment. In the Atlantic, we've marked an area of interest there at 20% for the next 5 to 7 days, a small system that could develop there in the main development region of the central Atlantic. 3 storms so far in the basin. In the eastern Pacific, it's double that, and we do have that other area of interest, K7, that we've marked on day 65 of hurricane season, 20% on that one as well, and another one behind that, possible development for next week. We've so far given that a low chance. Well, in the western Pacific, of course, we have Tropical Storm Wipha with Signal 2 warnings in effect for large parts of northern Luzon. We also have 2 other areas of interest behind it. One of them at a moderate chance already, hasn't even developed at this point, but it could be another system that will be threatening that area near Taiwan into the East China Sea. North Indian Ocean, no areas of interest right now, apart from, if I do care to mention, a system that's inland over India there. You can see just about a little bit of it there. We'll take a look at it in more detail on satellite later on, a land depression. In the southwest Indian Ocean, if you missed it, there is an active tropical cyclone. That's why we keep showing the southern hemisphere, because it seems to be going crazier and crazier over time. 1S, which developed a few days ago, reached tropical storm status, hanging on as a tropical depression, but likely gone very soon. In the Australian region, nothing to look at there. 1S is just about over the border there into the southwest Indian Ocean. The Australian region, very quiet indeed. So already 1 storm for the southern hemisphere this 2025-26 season in inverted commas. Well, there is Wipha right now, 50 mph winds, pressure 987 millibars, a low pressure for its wind speed due to its enormous size. 20.2 degrees north, 121.4 degrees east as of 8 p.m. Philippine time this July 18th. Signal 2 warnings are in effect for the northernmost provinces, including the islands offshore, and a Signal 1 warning extending as far south as Aurora. It is for 41 kilometers from Rojas Island, 69 from Basco, 89 from Calayan Islands, 199 from Eluanbi on the southern tip of Taiwan, and 808 from Hong Kong. Tropical Depression 1S currently visible here, far away from anything in the Indian Ocean. 35 mph winds, pressure 1004 millibars, and is travelling so far towards the southwest. 1379 kilometers from Diego Garcia, 1393 from the Cocos Islands, 2334 from Rodrigues, 2918 from Mauritius, and 3154 from Reunion. So suffice to say, it's not going to be affecting anyone anytime soon, or at all. Let's check in on today's satellite imagery then. First of all, looking at the Western Pacific, as you can see, it's getting, or has recently got dark over Tropical Storm Wipha over the northern Philippines there, also affecting Taiwan already at this point with its cloud cover and some significant rainfall. This whole area is going to be a massive area, elevated amounts of rainfall over the next 7 days, if not from this system, from the next one, both of them together. Close up here of Wipha, and those who are familiar with this imagery will know that this system filling up the screen shows just how large it is compared to other storms that we sometimes see, extremely broad. And it should be mentioned that the JTWC still have not designated this as a tropical storm as of the upload time. They still have it as Invest 96W. I think they're on another planet. Well, there it is right now, heading towards the west-northwest at a fair speed at this point. moving through the Batanes Islands and the Babuyan group of islands as well. It's quite disorganized in terms of that convection, the profile, but it is gradually getting better. A few areas showing up high amounts of convection. Looking on radar, looking quite decent as well there as we watch it here, although only a partial radar pass there. This is Tropical Depression 1S, which is barely hanging on and actually may not be anymore. We've kept it on as a grace as a tropical depression for now, but I fully expect that by the next update, unless we see some significant improvement, this will be scrubbed and down to a remnant low. Here's a look at Invest 93L, which also exists, and this is over the deep south of the United States. Well, very little left of it, it has to be said. It was looking better yesterday, just a little bit of convection throwing up some thunderstorms along the coast of Louisiana and along the border between Louisiana and Texas in particular right now. So that area looking like they're getting quite a bit more rainfall, looking at this particular view on radar as well, but very poor circulation in terms of structure, just some scattered thunderstorms concentrated towards the west. And this is the area of interest in the Eastern Pacific. No real circulation or anything on this one yet, but certainly something to watch as it continues to move out towards the west in general. It looks like it's going to struggle, however. This is off the US East Coast then, starting to get daylight over here. Apart from 93L, not much else to talk about really, just a few clouds moving off. The Caribbean region here, a few thunderstorms on either side of Cuba and also stretching towards Honduras, but apart from that, it's a pretty quiet picture. And this is the Eastern Atlantic, where we might be looking out for possibly some tropical waves, especially the one that we've looked at on the models, which we'll be taking you through shortly. And in the western region, the Eastern Pacific I should say, looking rather quiet in the far eastern part of the Pacific, although things might change soon. And this is a wide view of the Philippine region, which are buried underneath the massive bands and monsoonal bands towards the south of Tropical Storm Wipha. And this is the North Indian Ocean now, where you can see that system in the northern part of India looking almost like a tropical cyclone. I think it looked a bit better yesterday. It could have had a center of circulation, quite possibly. Radar is inconclusive. This is the South Indian Ocean, where you can see 1S on the far right hand side of the image. Apart from that, very little going on in the basin, although a few clouds near Diego Garcia. The South Pacific also looking relatively quiet, a few little thunderstorms here and there, nothing out of the ordinary at all in fact, so a rather quiet basin here. And a little look at the Mediterranean region, with a non-tropical low there throwing some significant showers over northern Romania and into Ukraine. So that's this view. Mediterranean itself looking quiet. The Atlantic sea surface temperatures are in Celsius, pushing 32 degrees in a few spots. The Gulf Stream also looking healthy. The Sargasso Sea also looking good too. A few spots of really warm waters later in the season. That will be important. Eastern Pacific also looking very good off the coast of Mexico in quite a large chunk there, over 30 degrees Celsius. Western Pacific, really warm all across the board. Look how far north those 26-degree waters extend. That's yellow and above. But near the Philippines, the warmest waters, 32 degrees, possibly even higher than that in the Philippine Sea. North Indian Ocean, Bay of Bengal looking rather good off the coast of India, pushing over 30 degrees Celsius in a few spots. The Arabian Sea, not quite so much because of the trade winds there. Compared to average, there's some really high sea surface temperature anomalies in the subtropical and extratropical parts of the Pacific. Similar too for the Atlantic, but to a slightly lesser extent. In the Atlantic in general, it is above average. Eastern Pacific is around half and half. Western Pacific, a little cool spot there to the southeast of Japan where Nari was a few days ago, but in the Philippines, it's above average. Mediterranean is still above average, but not quite as piping hot as it was compared to normal a couple of weeks ago. And this is the North Pacific then, looking at oceanic heat content, which is sky high across the whole Philippine region out over the Western Pacific. Tons of energy for future systems to capitalize upon, but it looks like in this part of the season they're going to be very big ones that are trying to take up as much energy as possible to develop. And this is the Atlantic region, of course. The Caribbean looking rather good there, a couple of spots, and into the Gulf of Mexico as well. Just waiting for systems to really take advantage of those areas now in the Atlantic. Of course, we have had a few so far, but they've been close to land and haven't lasted very long. Okay, so it's time to take a look at the models then. This is the Western Pacific over the next 5 days. That enormous system Wipha moving through the southern part of China and then on into the Gulf of Tonkin, where it looks like it will get a second wind, possibly flirting with typhoon status as it does so. And there's that next system. Look how large that one is. You thought Wipha was big. Well, the next one could be even larger according to the GFS model there. 60% chance of development we're giving that one right now. And look how large it gets. A massive behemoth of a storm moving through, reaching typhoon status before reaching the Ryukyu Islands. In the Eastern Pacific, we're looking at that little system on the left-hand side. That's the 20% that we've marked. And towards the right-hand side, towards the later part of the 5-day period, you'll see that next system. You just saw it crawling through there, rather weak. And now looking in the Atlantic region, look in this area, just about to enter that area. You can see that potential Atlantic system. There it is, that little trace of blue getting into the greens. That could be a tropical storm briefly, although probably not looking at that. Well, I said it's going to be a very wet pattern in the Western Pacific because of these storms. Let's just take a look at how wet it's going to be. All of those pink zones are generally above 400 millimeters of rainfall, and even brighter colors appearing on this view. So getting some very high rainfall amounts in this 7-day period. Parts of Taiwan over 500 millimeters, parts of the Philippine Mountains over 1,000 millimeters of rain, and also for Mindoro as well. For Hainan, possibly getting over 600 millimeters of rainfall, and parts of Vietnam possibly getting towards 500. So in the longer range, that second enormous storm pushing through typhoon status into the East China Sea, getting very close to Shanghai as well. A third system forming off to the east there. That's that low chance that we've given at the moment. GFS is very keen in the medium range for that to become a significant typhoon, in fact, through the Ogasawara Islands and possibly affecting the weather in southern Japan. So both of those systems really showing the West Pacific is back in business this summer. And taking a look at the Eastern Pacific once again, well, it's not just that first system, there's that second one that we're also watching. There it is, actually becoming a tropical storm properly now, and maybe a brief hurricane, a very small system, and then a third one behind that as well. So the Eastern Pacific might be racking up a few more names before we get to the end of the month, if the GFS is anything to go by at least. We'll keep watching those. Don't forget, when we do our percentages, we do weight in all of the model projections, not just the GFS. It's just because it's the only one that we can actually show you with these graphics. Scan the barcode and that will take you through to the Force 13 merch store, where you can take a look at all of our animations and the full season individual storm animations on request, and also check out our outlets through our Linktree page, where you can take a look at all of our areas where you can get tropical cyclone updates. Well, in the fantasy range, of course, we are continuing to look at the Eastern Pacific, looking at those hurricanes that are developing now, moving westwards, staying out to sea. That next one's quite a big one. Doesn't quite get to major hurricane status by the looks of things, but that must be a strong category 2 for a while. Then continuing on, could it march all the way to Hawaii? We'll have to see, but that is very long range. It may not even form in the first place, but something to keep an eye on possibly for those Eastern Pacific fans amongst us out there. And in the Western Pacific, what becomes of these two typhoons? Well, the first one's still there, moving right up there actually through northern China now, and the second one is stuck for a while, stalls for a bit, actually reaches a second peak there as a typhoon, and now it's wandering off towards the southeast and then east. Goodness knows where that's going. That'll be an interesting one to track if it does wander off like that, but right through the end of the month that system does prevail, and it looks like it will be heading out to sea by the time we enter the first days of August as a typhoon. Again, very, very long way out. What happened on this day then? It was another very busy time in the tropics, and my goodness, wasn't it? We had what was left of Dennis in 2005 on July 18th. Of course, that in itself was a major hurricane, and then it was eclipsed by Emily just days later, near its peak as a Category 4 today. Eugene had formed in the Eastern Pacific, and then not to mention the little matter of Typhoon Haitang, which was making a major landfall on Taiwan right now, and Tropical Storm Naoki had just formed way out east towards the international dateline. Haitang, of course, peaking as a Category 5. And Emily, well, I think people will still be questioning whether that one became a Category 5 or not. Back to today then. In the Atlantic, the next name on the list is Dexter. In the Eastern Pacific, it's Gil, and in the Central Pacific, it's Iona. 41 storms so far around the world in 2025. We are code orange. Our automated stream is running, showing latest imagery and updates on these storms live right now. The next name in the Western Pacific is Francisco, and in the North Indian Ocean it will be Shakti. And I think they'll be feeling robbed on a few occasions where we should have had a tropical cyclone in the North Indian Ocean that never got named. In the Australian region, the next name now is Fina. In the Southwest Indian Ocean, we'll be starting with Awo, really should have been named if you ask me, and in the South Pacific, it's Ermil. We hope to bring more regular bulletins by the end of this weekend, so stay tuned for more updates.
Become an Ultimate Fan today.